Before we recap in terms of what was actually said and done yesterday, I think there is something that I need to speak to for a brief moment. What is that? Yesterday, a former CEO of Stocks and Securities Limited, Zachary Harding, spoke with Ricardo Brooks and Tonna Thomas about his 33 months at Stocks and Securities Limited. And Mr. Harding, if you can find that clip for me, Nora. That clip, it was in the 5 o'clock yesterday, a minute 20 seconds, of Zachary Harding speaking with Tonna and Ricardo, where he said he was never made aware, while he spent almost 3 years at SSL, he was never made aware of an account there of Mr. Bolt. And that declaration by Mr. Harding has sparked some discussion and thinking about what happened to Bolt's money. What happened to $12.7 million US dollars, or approximately $2 billion? And I see where the Observer this morning, on page 5, has a story picking up on what Mr. Harding said yesterday. That clip of Mr. Harding, or it's in the cover story, or it could be the cover story. Ask the newsroom for how to find the clip. Yes? But the point is, Zachary Harding essentially told Nora, Tonna, and Ricardo that Bolt's account was not in his name, but in the name of a limited liability company, an LLC. This morning, the Observer picks it up and says, current and former senior managers at the scandal-hit SSL, which is currently embroiled in a multi-billion-dollar fraud, are desperate to clear their names and are distancing themselves from the shenanigans that left dozens of the firm's clients, including national icon Usain Bolt, with depleted accounts. While unwilling to be named because of the ongoing investigation into what is being dubbed the biggest fraud in Jamaica's history, a former senior manager told the Jamaica Observer, quote, us former and current managers are making it clear that we were not aware of any misappropriation of clients' funds. Neither were we aware that Usain Bolt had any account with SSL. The former senior manager went as far as to suggest that investigators need to look at other people who were more intimately involved in the day-to-day running of the company and who served in senior management at SSL for longer periods. None of the senior managers at SSL, the source said, would have been aware of an account for Bolt for the simple reason that there was no account in his name. Same thing Zachary Harding told us here yesterday. According to one observer source, no deposits were made in Bolt's name. Rather, they were deposited through a limited liability company. That information was corroborated by Bolt's attorney Linton Gordon in a January 16 letter to SSL demanding that Bolt's money be returned, failing which the company would face legal action. And the story goes on. Any account that had US 10, let me pick it up earlier. SSL has some 9,000 accounts in brokerage, 6,000 of which are active. There are an additional 300 accounts which are under private wealth management. Private wealth management. What does that mean? They have individual wealth advisors. Those with balances of US 10 million and above would automatically show up during an audit. Any account that had US $10 million or more obviously would have come up on a report. It would have come up in an audit to show, hey, this is one of your top customers, the source said. So how did Bolt's account didn't turn up? How? How come? The source also questioned whether the funds Bolt thought he was investing ever made it to the account or were diverted after the deposits were made. Now, this is where the matter is going this morning. The source also questioned whether the funds Bolt thought he was investing ever made it to the account or were diverted after the deposits were made. Continuing to quote the senior manager, the former senior manager, if it, meaning the account balance, never came up on a report, as Zachary Harding is saying, and none of the senior management ever knew about it, it was because the amount of money in the account was not to the level of one of our top clients. In other words, it wasn't one of the big accounts over 10 million. A potential headache, says the Observer reporting, a potential headache for Bolt and his legal team is a possibility that the statement they got from SSL indicating a balance of US $12.7 million could have been nothing more than a fabrication. Somebody make it up because of whatever they were doing in managing Bolt's money was not on the system at SSL. So they fabricated statements. Speaking specifically to the Bolt account, the Observer source argued, quote, "You can't hide $2 billion. If $2 billion or whatever you convert it into moves out of a bank account, there's something to indicate that movement. There's a transfer and a wire that was sent from account 1, 2, 3, 4 to this person's account. If that evidence is not there, then perhaps it never went into SSL's account to begin with." I gather this is now concentrating the minds of not only former senior managers, but the investigating authorities. You'll recall that last week, Bolt's attorney, Linton Graham, wrote to SSL on January 16, demanding Mr. Bolt's money be returned to him by Friday, this Friday. I gather that letter will be responded to, and there are questions for some people, both at SSL and Mr. Bolt's management team, to be answered. I say no more on that. It's time for the break.